members of our great profession to the first and only business radio in Nigeria, Impact Business Radio, also known as Amu Pajero. We are particularly delighted and honored to have our own, and during his tenure here, we have the first business radio. One and only Deacon Titus Alaushetu, FCA, the 52nd President of ICANN. Accountancy is a very unique profession. It's an indispensable vehicle for improvement in business or even in governance. Our training enables us to look and adopt pragmatic and objective approach to solving problems. Thus, accountants are strategically positioned to contribute to the overall stability and progress of businesses and the society in general. What a lot has gone into training accountants. Accountants are part of the society. You can't afford to stand apart from that society. ICANN as a body should please gear up to protect and promote the profession and the professional interest of accountants generally. Public expectations are high, but confidence level is low. Today, budgets are not reliable, financial reports lack integrity. Public are asking, what role are accountants playing in all this that is happening in our society? We should be encouraged to uphold the values of integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, and confidentiality. When torn between upholding the values central to the profession and the demands of the real world, we should please stand by our core ethics. Whether in private or public sector, whether the economy is shrinking or expanding, whether business is in formative growth or declining stage, the contribution and the need for an accountant can never be overstated, irrespective of what stage the economy is. Those of us in this great profession have great chance because we understand the language of business. We are by training better equipped to assess the risk and evaluate trade policies and take advantage of such. Our members should please be encouraged to venture into business and go into politics to prove what stuff we have between our ears. When we do, we should please support them for success. Why we decided to go into radio? Today's Nigeria is tumultuous, economically, politically, and socially. Quite a lot of crises everywhere. So we believe radio has a great potential to impact people's lives. Thanks to its widespread availability and reach, radio is particularly effective in providing life-transforming information to people living in poverty or promote harmony in the society. IBR, also known as Amu Pajero, is harnessing these potentials to provide vital information for and about the people. We reach almost the entire Southwest, and our vision is to service the being of our stakeholders, promote entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial development. We seek to create the platform for economic advocacy, especially in the interest of small and medium-scale enterprises, promote the involvement of the voiceless in economic issues, and helping people hold power to account.
I want to thank you very much for receiving us so warmly at this place, this afternoon, because what makes accountancy to be unique is demonstrated in your chairman here. He left engineering to become an accountant. Have you not said that one today? Yes, sir. Have you heard of anybody who left accountancy to become an engineer? It's a thing of joy to see one of us demonstrating those qualities and values that we have preached. In the last few years, our students have been talking about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. And in fact, during my acceptance speech, I mentioned something like that. We have seen it demonstrated in practice that an accountant can be a successful entrepreneur. I want to thank our brother for taking the mantle to lead the way, walk the talk, and give us a place like this. Since our country is passing through difficult times, these are the kind of things we need to do to take us out of the woods.
Five months after we started, we sat down on our own. We didn't know how to do it. We were rated the best news station in Oyo State. As I'm talking to you now, the media rating for Oyo State, January, February. January we came second, February we came second. And if you know, out of 22, some of them being backed by, you know, people who are people. I'm sure even after many of us would have left here, when you get to the gate and they say, Mr. Olabiola, many of us will see, say, who is that? Right? But despite I don't have a name, we put this together and we got into the second position. The one idea really is this. Ijota Agro. Call and come.
We operate in a society. We are part of the society. We cannot take ourselves out of the problem of the society. We can minimize the problem. We can curtail the problem. But the fact that we are in a society, we are affected. Because we are in Nigeria, that's why we are having epileptic power supply. There will be unemployment, but we encourage our people to be employers, not to be employment seekers, like the chairman has demonstrated. But the good news is that we can be light in the midst of darkness. So the problems are there, the country's problems are there, but we are there to solve the problem. And that's why we have been created, to be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. As accountants, we are expected to be good citizens of the country. And that's why we can talk about the ills of the country. You know, those people who are part of the problems of the country, they don't talk about it. But those who are finding the solution, they will talk about the problems of the country. We are responsible as citizens, as good corporate citizens, to tell our government what is wrong and to help them to know how to navigate and come out of the doldrums. And especially that we are having what is known as recession. So we preach the gospel of accountability, of integrity to everybody that want to listen to us in the country, because without it, we are going nowhere. Corruption and development, they don't go hand in hand. Where there is one, the other will be missing. Where there is corruption, there can be no development. And where corruption is reduced to the barest minimum, obviously there will be development.
One of the greatest things that God did for me was for me to become an accountant. And anytime, any day, I will always honor whoever is an accountant. I would not know, maybe because of the way I went into it. It's a very tasking profession. The exam is something else. No matter what you may have in one subject, once you fail one, you have to repeat everything. So anytime I see anybody say, I'm a chartered accountant, I want to pity such a fellow. What you have gone through. If you can, be a chartered accountant.
The World Teachers Day, and well, we'll be discussing about the teachers today on our program with the theme valuing teachers, improving their status, and that is what we'll be looking at on the program this morning. Once again, welcome. I am Olutayo Ogumade, and my partner is here with me, Opeyemi Ojabanjo. Opeyemi, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Olutayo, and good morning to our dear listener. Thank you for joining us. Today is yesterday was World Teachers Day, and today we'll be looking at it in full scale. We couldn't bring it your way yesterday because of the economy today. So we are still celebrating our teachers of all teachers. And recently on social media, people took to the social media, Facebook, Twitter, to celebrate their teachers. And I came with this word. I said we have accidental teachers, deliberate teachers. You can figure that out. This year, World Teachers Day marks the 50th anniversary of the adoption of the 1966 ILO UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of teachers. It is also the first World Teachers Day, WTD, to be celebrated within the new Global Education 2030 agenda adopted by the world community a year ago. This year's theme, valuing teachers, improving their status. If you followed us during the newspaper review segment, we read out a particular story from Ekiti State. So you can begin to figure that out as well. It embodies the fundamental principles of the 50-year-old recommendation while shining a light on the need to support teachers as reflected in the Agenda's Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The specific education goal, SDG 4, pledges to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Teachers are not only important to the right to education, they are key to achieving the targets set out in SDG 4. So this morning we'll be looking at the theme, valuing teachers, improving their status.
Oh yes, and joining us on the program this morning is a trained and seasoned teacher. We have, he's a former principal lecturer at Lagos State Polytechnic and also former teacher, Loyola College, Mr. Daniel Abiodun Finde, joining us on the program this morning. Good to have you join us, sir.
Good morning, you're welcome.
You're welcome to Rise and Shine, yes, on Impact Business Radio. World Teachers Day, celebrated yesterday anyway, and you are a teacher, and of course, we're comparing teachers in Nigeria to their counterparts.
Àwọn àgbà koro bójó finú gbóṣelé, àgbà òkété forí òkìtì ṣe yẹ̀wò, ibú rere nílé ìtẹ̀jà. Ìbà lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba àkọ́dá, ọba òní ọba àná, ọba lọ́jọ́ ayé gbogbo, ọba tó ń bẹ kí bẹbẹ ó tó máa bẹ, ọba tí ó máa bẹ nígbà gbogbo bẹbẹ kan ọba sí máa rí ìró àlá, gbanigbani Olódùmarè ọba tó tún gbani lọ́jọ́ tó le. Ǹjẹ́ aláyọ̀ àfihàn forúkọ yín láàárọ̀?
I am Opeyemi Ojabanjo.
And I'm Olutayo Ogumade. Great to be here once again, the final lap of Rise and Shine, the interview segment of the program. Today we'll be looking at 17 years of democracy in Nigeria. And don't forget, just yesterday we celebrated the Democracy Day. And today we are also on holiday, kind of. Yes, we are home. No work. It's work-free day today. And Mr. President gave his one-year speech yesterday. And of course, was subject to so many dissections from places. Well, and of course, today in the studio, it will be different. We're opening the phone lines for you to have your contribution, your take, on your assessment of democracy thus far in Nigeria. We have an in-house guest. I will be looking at the speech of Mr. President yesterday. Some of the pointers that were expected from the speech, they did meet our expectation. Talking about corruption, talking about things on the economy, talking about the youth welfare, power, agric, several other pointers in the speech. What is it about? Is this really what we expect of this administration? That is, and more we'll be looking at today on the program. We know definitely that corruption has dealt a great blow on the nation, Nigeria, and the Buhari-led administration rose to power on a sweeping mandate to give the country a new direction, to inject a sense of urgency and purpose into the business of governance. Political analysts believe Nigerians choose the All Progressives Congress APC candidate, Amin Buhari, above former President Goodluck Jonathan because of the perception that as a former military leader, he has the experience and better position to tackle Boko Haram insurgency, growing insecurity in the east, and unrest in the Niger Delta region. There was a high expectation that corruption would be tackled head-on and policies initiated to create employment opportunities. We'll be looking at this today with our guest in the studio, Dayo Gumboale. Good morning, Dayo. Good to have you in the studio with us.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, you listened to Mr. President's speech yesterday. Okay, what was the assessment of your thing?
Well, before we go to the pointers, I said something during the newspaper review this morning that the speech was an opium. I mean, people have been looking forward to hear something, and we all heard something eventually. I want to suggest, if as a citizen you have not listened to, or probably you don't have your hands laid on the script, I suggest you go throughout in the speech. I was like, seriously?
That's right.
As in, he did not even by mistake.
It wasn't mentioned.
Not as in, he didn't even use an abridged word like young. He didn't mention it. You like, was he so carried away? Or what exactly is going on? These are things we expect our president to look at. Not just, oh, he said this and he did not say this one well. There are some, and whether we like it or not, while celebrating 17 years of democracy, there was a report that for the last 17 years, Nigeria has lost 38 trillion naira to corruption. If you ask me, that is a summary. 17 years of democracy.
I think I have the breakdown of.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have here the breakdown of the stolen funds since 1999. 3 trillion naira NNPC, NPDC unremitted funds. That's under Jonathan's era. 2.3 trillion naira diverted Nigerians arms deal under Jonathan's era. 30 trillion naira oil theft, waivers, others under Jonathan's era. 8.5 billion naira, 2.6 billion naira Nimasa frauds, Jonathan's era. 17.3 billion naira, 23 billion naira Desianis bribe under Jonathan's era. 3 billion naira Shopee scams under Jonathan's era. 56 billion naira amount spent on Koja, Obasanjo's era. 2 trillion naira per sector revamp fund under Obasanjo's era. 300 billion naira missing fund from Works Ministry, Obasanjo's era.
Okay, I mean, sorry to cut in.
Okay.
I feel that the amount here, it's not only staggering, but also disheartening to hear that this was stolen
And then we
from
have all
the
these.
Commonwealth. I think we should just go over it and just do so.
Just because
Yes.
on that you can imagine. Okay, let's look at it this way. By 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. All these things divided 6, 5. 6 to the Jonathan's era, and then 5 under President, the former President Obasanjo's era.
You know, like I said in my opener, that the Buhari administration rose to power on a sweeping mandate to give the country a new direction, and also to stamp out corruption. Like we know, corruption is not a new transgression in Nigeria,
At all.
but it has merely grown in intensity. Now, daily you hear amounts being stolen by people, and what is being done. Maybe we should just kick it off from the corruption angle. Democracy and corruption. Now, like I said also, it existed in the First Republic. I mean corruption now. And caused various panels of inquiry to be set up to investigate public officials. One already, and a famous water politician was jailed for misdemeanors In 1970s, also, for example, one Mr. Jobin, a high-ranked police official, was convicted for corruption. So was Mr. Killer, a director of the NYSC in its pioneering years. Corruption was also famously cited by the leaders of Nigeria's first coup, and also by leaders of other subsequent coups or change of government ever since. We have never had a golden past, and no one should cultivate that illusion. However, the incidence of corruption has increased, and so has the distrust of the people for an uncaring leadership. So it is not something strange to the system, but it has assumed an enormous proportion. So what are we doing? The fight against, and the Buhari administration also came with a strong stand to fighting corruption.
Well,
what is your assessment of the fight?
This pattern nature of our current president, in fact, I don't know, you have the pointers there with you. Corruption was mentioned several times in the speech, which means, in fact, call the current tenure, call the agenda whatever agenda. Number one agenda, as far as the president is concerned, is the anti-corruption crusade, which I call loot recovery crusade. Because if you call anti-corruption, it's multifaceted. Corruption is multifaceted. That's the Hydra head. In Nigeria, it's in different areas. But then what is really focusing on right now is loot recovery. Is loot recovery. That's my own coinage for it. So as far as the 1 year is concerned, we'll go back to 17 years. As far as the 1 year is concerned, what I see this government having focused on is loot recovery. Is loot recovery. Because if 38 trillion went down the drains in 17 years, you can imagine what 38 trillion would do to this country. You can just imagine. By now, we shouldn't be paying for anything, really, if it was judiciously used. But then it went into some people's pockets. And I was talking somewhere yesterday, I told them, I said, when they say something is missing, it's not because it disappeared, it's because it went somewhere. As far as Nigeria is concerned, when they say money is missing, it's not because it grew wings and flew out of the window. It's with someone. Money is like energy. You understand? When it's moving from somewhere to somewhere, and that's why some people tell you, they said there's no money. Why can't you just print? You don't just print. You circulate money. You don't just print. You understand? Else you end up with the Zimbabwe dollar. You carry 1 trillion to buy 1 chicken. You understand? Else, that's what happens. But then back to Nigeria, this 17 years has been now because we're coming from the military era, and an average Nigerian then was so happy. At least no more khakis. At least no more this. The Obasanjo era came in. But then his second term, he was too focused on having a third term. He was too focused on having that third term that he lost the opportunity to take Nigeria to the next level. I always tell people, General Olusegun Obasanjo had the best opportunity to move Nigeria forward. He threw it to the dogs.
Well, some feel proud because the years allotted to the 4-year tenure is so short to
He
do
spent
anything.
8 years.
Yeah, you know.
He had all the opportunity. He had the best chance. But then we knew what happened. They were changing the president, changing speakers, and all because he wanted to push an agenda of coming back. Probably would have become another Zimbabwean, by now. But then, thank God, we moved on. We moved on. Even though it was frying pan to fire to frying pan, Yar'Adua had a very good intention for Nigeria, but he couldn't live long. Musa Yar'Adua was one of the best persons we would ever have enjoyed in this country. A lot of things happened within the few years that he was there, within that 2 years, that, in fact, the 6 years of President Goodluck Jonathan is kind of not close to what he achieved. He was able to bring down the price of petrol, was able to do a lot of, even the amnesty of project in the Niger Delta was started by Yar'Adua, an Hausa man. So, looking at Nigeria's 17 years, some people say what is there to celebrate and all that. But then, thank God we have a democracy. I mean, see, I can remember the former American leader that said, well, democracy is not the best, as it were, form of government. But when you compare all other forms, amongst all other forms of governance, democracy is still the best. Amongst all others. I will still go for a democracy than a cabalocracy or a kakistocracy, or a military regime. I would, for any time T, I would go for a democracy. Anytime T. And then I think with time we'll begin to look at the pointers and see where the focus of our president was in that speech. I think with time we'll begin to go to the pointers, and one other one I want to pick from there, because we're talking about corruption now. Tara, can you just show us how many times, because we're doing it together.
Corruption was mentioned 5 times.
Thank you. Now, welfare or something good. Let's corruption is not good. Let's look for one that is
Welfare
good.
0.
Welfare 0. Thank you.
Economy was mentioned 12 times.
12 times.
Agric 2 times.
Good.
Power 2 times.
Good.
Fulani herdsmen 0.
Sorry, power, not good. 2 times, not good. Not good.
Niger Delta was mentioned 2 times.
Good.
But Fulani herdsmen, no.
No time. Now, let me just quickly jump to that Fulani herdsmen issue. Now, a lot of people that have been sane enough to analyze that speech have come out and said, this is not right. This is not right. This government has been coming out to say, we will crack down on Niger Delta militants. Good, I'm okay with it. But then what's up with the Fulani herdsmen?
Sorry, that before we go to the other analysis of all of these other points, the corruption issue.
Good.
I just want us to look at it. Yes, there's so much noise about the fight against corruption, which also called youth recovery by the Buhari administration. Some still feel that it's one-sided, and some feel that with all the noise that we've heard in the papers and on several other media platforms, we've not had a thorough conviction of one particular person. Omachi is there, they're still appealing the judgment of 5 years running.
This is Nigeria. We will go all the way to the Supreme Court.
And things like this. So what really, let's draw a little bit on that before we move to some other things.
As I said earlier, I term the anti-corruption crusade.
Do you feel it's one-sided? Do you feel we have achieved enough? Do you feel that the next years will be sufficient for us to really deal with it?
At the moment, I won't want to call it one-sided, because if you look at President Muhammadu Buhari, he's more. It's appearing that he's more ethnic partial than politically partial. I'm speaking from my own personal opinion now. He's more of an Hausa Fulani man than an APC man.
So can you take that away from you? Some of these things they find.
If you're going to lead a country like Nigeria, you have to shy away from that. That is one thing I'll give to President Olusegun Obasanjo anytime. That man is first and foremost a Nigerian. Now, am I saying President Buhari is not a Nigerian? No. But I'm saying his actions, like they always say, his body language is saying otherwise. He's saying he's not really everybody's president, as it were. But then he's taking actions that, okay, we better everybody. Someone said something yesterday and I saw sense in it. He said, will it not even be better that the say Vice President Osinbajo should even be speaking on behalf of this government? Seriously. Because on a scale of 0 to 100%, as far as integrity in spoken word is concerned, the VP has said better things than the president and the spokesperson, the Minister for Information, combined together. Alhaji Lai Mohammed will come out and say this today. Before the end of the day, you discover that it's not that way. President Buhari, because he has not been so much around and all that, he does not so much have a grip. He says something and you're wondering, sir, are you sure? Are you really sure? Is this what is going on? But then the VP, I don't know, probably he has a feel, or he probably has more people advising him, on he has sons working with him. You know, probably they doctor the statements well enough, and then he reaches out to people. Because at this moment in time, what Nigerians need more than anything else is transparency.
Okay, and do we say that this is responsible for President Muhammadu Buhari saying on the 14th of May in London that he will personally provide specific details of all recovered stolen public funds?
Thank you.
And he intended to say that on the 29th of May, that was
yesterday.
And then we didn't hear anything.
Only for us to get to know that Alhaji Lai Mohammed, I don't. Okay, I personally now, I do not, I would take every pinch, every word from Alhaji Lai Mohammed with a pinch of salt. Yeah, someone said, and I quote,
that's your opinion
that, yeah, of course, personally now, someone said that his statements have always been loaded with a plethora of lies and a paucity of truth. That whenever he says things, you have to go back and confirm. Now, you are telling us, as a president, that you made a statement on the international scene, not even inside Nigeria, that you're going to be releasing this. Now, every right-thinking person knows that for diplomatic purposes, you don't do such things. It's not right. I think was discussing with, was it Amanpo or who was he discussing with? He was being interviewed on CNN, and he made that statement, probably to like show the world that, see, I will let you know, the people you don't talk that way. Donald Trump is having issues now getting nomination because people are saying, God, you've been talking anyhow. Bob Doyle, who contested in 1996, came out and told him point blank that, see, I will support you, I will give you, but then you have to go back and apologize. You've been talking anyhow. And this our current government, they've been doing their best. I mean, give it to them. Seriously, I want to be personally now, they've been doing their best because the situation on ground was not what they envisaged. That's the truth. They definitely did not envisage what was on ground. They thought it was easier than it is. But then, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Now they are there and they know what's going on. Now they are there and they are feeling the heat. So I'm giving it to them at least for being able to manage it thus far. But then when it comes to transparency in terms of telling people what exactly is going on and what you intend doing, below 40%.
Okay, why you were analyzing the president's speech? He didn't mention anything about youth.
Nothing. Youth is zero. We were doing it together. We were doing it together.
So where's the hope of
the
Nigerian youth, even in democracy?
Thank you. In fact, that was what led me into the personal analysis of the speech as a whole. That was what led me. When the guy posted the thing and said youth was mentioned zero. Hello, youth, are you there? And people are like, seriously. I had to go back and sit down and say, this guy is right. Youth was never mentioned. Not even young persons. Not even, as in, not, we are talking of youth. The word youth didn't come. The word young people didn't come up. For God's sake. Who are the people that would drive the policies? Who are the people that would, the palliative measures we are talking about? Is it the old people? We are talking about the young people. Well, what are we then saying? The minister is still an old person, so what are we then saying? But then at this moment, you don't just give tokenism, to young people.
No, he made some appointments. We have young people.
Exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You make appointments. We have friends in all those places. People who work for them as bloggers, and they are there now. As social media assistants. Let's not mention names. We know these guys. These are people, if you connect, you discover that probably is a younger friend to a younger brother, and all that, you will know these are people that were working for them, and they gave them appointments. But then let's face it, these appointments are not what the Nigerian youth needs. How many Nigerian youth will you appoint to become social media aid? How many will you appoint to become media aid? They now have senior special media aid, whether there's a young junior one, I don't know, but then they just create positions in quotes, all of them talking on Twitter. That's what they do. The president, they take pictures and they post, they tweet pic, they retweet Aso Rock Twitter and do, and all that. That's their job. Sometimes they get to travel with the president in the presidential jet or fleet. I'll come back to that one. That was something I just clicked. Now, the presidential fleet, they are yet to reduce it. Talks are on now for a national carrier. The presidential fleet has not reduced by one plane. And we're talking of reducing cost. The money spent maintaining those aircrafts will run an airline. Fact. And whether we like it or not, it has been reproduced again in the national budget for 2016. Nigeria is going to be paying for fueling well above 5 private jets, presidential fleet. Do we really have to spend this much? But that's not why I'm here. Now, certain youths who were instrumental to the coming in of the current APC into power at the central are being given appointments. Cool. Probably if I had been given one, I might not be here at this moment. So I'm not against guys who got appointments. They worked for it. They earned it. But my challenge here is this. If there's no plan for the Nigerian youth on the street right there, then that speech is below par. And from what I see, the Nigerian youth was not mentioned. That means there's no plan, as it were, right now. Don't tell me there's 500 billion palliative measures. You did not mention me as a youth. You don't have me in mind. That's what you're saying. If you spoke over 2,600 words, and I did not come up, I don't matter to you. That's what you are telling me. Over 2,600 words, the Nigerian youth was not mentioned for once. there's a challenge.
Okay, Daya, before you take it over personal. Now let's talk about democracy here in Nigeria.
Good.
Do you think it's the best solution to the problems confronting us as a multicultural, multilingual, and multi-religious society?
In all
You said
sincerity,
President Muhammadu Buhari is more of an ethnic person compared to, you know.
by body language. By body language, yes.
So, but do you think democracy, going down 7 years, looking back and where we're going to, do you think is actually the best solution?
Well, not minding the 38 trillion that went down the drain in the last 17 years. I still believe democracy is still the best for Nigeria. Seriously. I still believe strongly, as a good governance advocate, that democracy is still the best form of governance that we can have in this country. And these are my reasons. Number one, in the only other one we've had is military regime. In a military regime, only a set of people in khakis, in uniforms, get to run the country. And these people are not trained to run countries. They are trained to fight wars. They are trained to protect the citizens. But then when someone who is trained to protect is now the one making decisions, it reduces the speed at which the country grows. Now, I'm not saying the country will not grow. There are certain decisions that were made during the military era that were still good. Let's face it. Let's be sincere with ourselves. However, democracy is still the best. Some will say, let's go back to regional government and all that. I'm okay with that. But then, please, we still have to elect our leaders.
Because even some Nigerians are even talking about us splitting.
You see, anyone who says that, go and check very well. I like to be down to heart with people. If somebody is saying Nigeria should split now, either they no longer have access to the national cake. That's the truth, though. Let's be sincere. We are Nigerians. Either they once had access to the national cake and they no longer have access to it, or they've never had access to it and they are hungry with people who have access to it.
No, but let's now look at it. Why don't you
It's
look
like
at
the
it from...
person who is down that fears no fall.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, whatever opinion you have.
Okay.
But now let's look at it. The challenges we are facing at the moment in the
Good.
country, the issue of the X-Men, the Avengers, and so on and so forth. You know, you hear the story, Boko Haram, and so on. These stories are disheartening. And then you're like, what are we still doing together?
Well, Nigeria is not even as diverse as the United States of America. We are far from it. If we want to talk about diversity, the United States of America is one of the most, if not the most diverse country. You see Jewish Americans, German Americans, Nigerian Americans, you understand? They are doing well. So if it's about diversity, no, it's not an excuse to go separate ways. It is not an excuse to go separate ways. Mind you, it is when issues come up that people remember that I am Igbo, and you are not doing my bidding because you are not my brother. It's when there are issues and money is involved. That's the truth, though. Like you say, I am Yoruba. Why will you be going to be giving the opportunities to an Hausa man? Let's put our own people there. Your own people. Your own people. Because you expect that when you go visiting, he shares the money to your people. That is because it's money. And when it comes to sharing money, I tell people, an average politician does not know ethnic. When it comes to sharing money. Yeah.
Something bothers me.
Good.
I want you to really respond to that. You find leaders in Nigeria, from one administration to the other. If it's a Yoruba person, if it's a man from the south, it's a man from the north, you find majority, a sizable number of appointments he makes will be from his own court, from his own side, tribe, ethnic color, ethnic group, whatever. You know, this happens from time to time. Do we have Nigerians who are detribalized? Are the affairs of? Can we have them?
You just mentioned another hallmark of the current tenure.
Most appointments,
which people have been talking about from the south, is that there are no sound people from. Am I saying this because I'm a southerner? No, that's not the point. The point is we need a Nigeria that works, and that's the fact. We need a Nigeria that works. Now, don't come and tell me no. The people he knows is at the center. His vice is a Yoruba man. So don't come and tell me it's because those are the people he knows. He does not. He can't run the government on his own. Same thing with the vice president. They can't run the government on their own. Tinubu had to leave Lagos and move to Abuja. He can't run the government on his own. Babatunde Fashola was governor of Lagos State. He had a commissioner who was an Igbo man. Now, it's not because he was trying to be. He doesn't. Lagos State. He does not owe anybody anything. That's the truth. But go and check. One of the best commissioners he has was that guy. That's the truth. Anybody can jump up and land with their head. That is the truth. You understand? So whatever anybody likes, let them say. That was one of the best commissioners his tenure had. So when you begin to say, and this is Lagos State, where he does not owe anybody anything. No doubt there's no ethnic group that has one, you know, whatever. But then this is Nigeria. You know, there's this federal character. You bring people, and seriously, let's face it, for the sake of peace, some things have to be done. I tell people, no, we want the best. I say, I understand. Go for the best from that region and make sure you get them on board. I'll end with this. As regards that area, the government of President Goodluck Jonathan had that. Fine, money disappeared, but then they got people on board. And that was why the way they shared the money, the way they shared the money, you will know that people that you didn't expect, sir, I know that, sir, you hear something, you like, sir, it got to you? Yes, it got to them. You know, for example, Chief Olufalaye, you understand? You, sir, you took, yes. Because when it comes to sharing money, people will not want Nigeria to break. You know, that has oil block in the Niger Delta. You think you want them to go?